Hello Oracle Database Geeks, this is Justin, and in this Oracle Database YouTube video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create a physical standby database. Now in Oracle Database 8i, version 8i, the concept of a standby database was introduced. And the idea behind a standby database was that you had a primary database, which was your production database, running at one site, and then or on one computer system, and then on another site or another computer system, you would have the standby database. And a physical standby database is a database which it's a disaster recovery solution, but it could also be used as a data replication solution. Okay, and what happens is the standby database is the physical standby database is a transaction current copy of your primary database. Okay, every time you make a change on your primary database, i.e., you change a row of data that's in the table, you insert a row of data in the table, you create a table, whatever you do, any kind of modification, DML, DDL, whatever that you make against your primary Oracle database, okay, is always makes a change, okay, in the database buffer in the SGA. Then when you do a commit for that change, in the case of a DDL, there's an automatic commit, an implicit commit. But when you do a commit, let's say you do a DML change and you do an explicit commit with a commit SQL plus command, okay, it's going to flush the changes in the redo log buffer that's in the SGA memory, and it's going to flush them into the redo log file, the online redo log file. Now, when an archive log switch occurs on the primary, okay, what happens is, or on the database, what happens is if your database is running in archive log mode, an archive log file is created in your archive log destination, which is a directory on your server. Okay? In a standby configuration, every time that archive log is cut on the primary side, okay, that archive log is also shipped to the standby computer system, where the standby database is, and applied to that database. The physical standby database is a database which is constantly in recovery mode. It's constantly waiting for archive logs from the primary database, and every time an archive log is shipped from the primary database, it's shipped over to the standby database and applied to that standby database. So the standby database is always waiting for archive logs from the primary database. Now, it was known as standby database in 8i, the version it was introduced. It was changed to, the name of it was changed to Dataguard in version 9i of the Oracle database, and it remained Dataguard for version 10G and 11G, where we are now. Now, prior to Oracle database version 11G release 2, Oracle, you could only have 9 standby databases, okay, for every primary database. That has changed. Now, since 11G release 2, you can have 30 standby databases. Okay, so Oracle has increased that limit. There are 2 types of standby databases. You can create a physical standby database and a logical standby database. This video only deals with how to create a basic physical standby database using Dataguard. Okay, Dataguard does come with the Oracle database software, so I definitely encourage you to take advantage of it. And the whole idea is that if you were to lose your primary database for whatever reason, that you could just switch roles with the standby database, i.e. making the standby database ideally run on another computer system, the primary, okay? And then users and the standby database will take over the role of the primary, which is accepting connections from your application, i.e. your users, okay, and serving the data store as the primary did. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's configure Dataguard. Now, there's a lot of features of Dataguard. There's a lot of YouTube videos I have out there. There's this whole series, okay, on Dataguard. Okay, so check them all out. This is just a starting point, and this is just how to create a physical standby database. Okay, and very basic. So let's go ahead. In our scenario, we have a database running on our Windows Vista computer system called Finance, F-I-N-A-N-C-E, and it's our production financial system for our hypothetical company ABC. So We set our Oracle SID to finance. We ensure we are set properly, which we are. We connect to our finance database via the SQL Plus program. We ensure we're connected as a sysdba user. We are sys. We type in select name from $$ database to ensure we're connected to the correct database, finance, which is true. Let's take a look at the structure of our database. And the first thing we need to look at are the, the first thing we should really look at are table spaces. Now, these are the table spaces which make up our Oracle database. Pretty standard for any database, really. System, sysaux, undo TBS temp. In an environment you may come, a database you may come across in the field, you'll find many more table spaces relating to application data. So you do select name from $$ data file, and you'll see all the table spaces which correspond to these table spaces. Okay, pretty standard. Select name from the $temp file, and we see our temp file here. Pretty standard. Select name from the $control file, and we see we have our control file, which is mirrored 2 times, 2 and 3. So we have multiplex control files, which is recommended. Okay, but they should be on different disks, which they aren't here. See, it's the same partition, C:, but whatever. Okay, so we have control files which are mirrored 3 times, including the primary one. And if we say select member from the $log file, we will see that we have 3 online redo log file groups, group 1, 2, and 3. Each of them have 1 member each. Okay, so here are our 4 data files, our 3 data files, persistent data files, and our permanent data files, and our 1 temporary data file type. Here are 3 control files, multiplexed, mirrored, whatever you want to call them, and our 3 online redo log files. 3 groups, 1 member each. So that's basically the structure of our Oracle database. And if we look here, we see in our path name, we see that C:/database /ORData/finance is where all of our files are. Our data files, our temp file, our control file, and redo log files. So let's just go physically, if you will, go to that location on our operating system, C:/database /ORData/finance. We dir, and archive logs is our archive log destination, where our archive, because this database is in archive log mode, and we see our multiplex control files, our 3 online redo log files, and our 4 data files. So these are the files which collectively make up our finance database. Now, first thing you want to do is, when you're connected to the primary databases, you want to ensure you're running an archive log mode, which we are on this database. You need to run an archive log mode to configure a physical standby database in Dataguard. So select log_mode from the $database. So we are in archive log mode. And if we type in archive log list, we will see database log mode, archive mode, automatic archival is enabled. Here's the destination where the archive logs are written, database ORData finance archive logs, and we're currently at sequence 2. The host command temporarily gets you out of SQL Plus and into the operating system. And if we dir our archive logs directory, we will see here we are currently in sequence 2 because sequence 1 was written. Okay, exit to get back in SQL Plus. Now that we have determined that the database we want to make our primary database, which is our production database, is in archive log mode, the next thing we need to do is we need to ensure that login has been forced. By default, every time you do you make a change to the database, whether it's a DML change, DDL, whatever, that change gets logged in the redo log files and then cut to archive log files if you're running an archive log, which we are. There are some instances, and see my performance YouTube videos where I discuss this, where you want to temporarily disable login, which is Oracle's default behavior. And the reason why you want to disable login is for performance reasons. And one of the database activities where you may disable login would be if you were to do a bulk data load. Okay, if you were to load a lot of data into a table, okay, a lot of rows, okay, and we're talking millions or billions of rows, okay, you would really want to turn off login for performance reasons. Okay, so to force login, type in the following: alter database, and this is the primary database, force login. So that's alter database force login. And it says database is already in force login mode. Okay, so this is just a sanity check. Okay, it's most likely it will already be in it, but you just want to double check that you are, because the whole concept behind physical standby databases in Dataguard is it relies on transactions. Okay, every time an archive log is cut on the primary, it gets shifted over to the standby to be applied. Okay, so you need to make sure your database is logged in, otherwise Dataguard won't work. The other thing you need to, well, we'll get to that in a second. So now we are ready to, you know what? Let's do that now. We are in this scenario. Our primary database is called finance, and we're going to create another database, which is going to be the standby database on the same system, which is not recommended in the field, obviously, but for this environment, it's fine. Called Finance 2. So Finance is going to be our primary production database, and Finance 2 will be our standby Dataguard database. So go ahead and move to the Oracle home, which is the location where your Oracle database software is installed, which corresponds to this instance. On this server, it's c:/oracle/app/product/1110/db_1. There's a subdirectory in your Oracle home called database. And if you look, there is a file called pwdfinance.aura. So that's capital PWD and then the SID of the database, which is finance.aura, short for Oracle. And the password file, it's important that you use a password file. And one of the reasons is that the primary database and the standby database in Dataguard need to have the same sys password. So the sys users of the primary and standby need to have the same password so they can log into one another. If they don't, then you'll get a whole bunch of authentication failure messages in the alert log. Okay. So what I like to do is I like to copy the primary database's password file, okay, and create one for the standby. And if the standby were on a another physical box, you would copy it and then FTP it over or whatever. So copy pwd finance aura to pwd finance 2 aura. So our primary database in this scenario is going to be finance, and our standby database will be finance 2, running on the same system. dir pwd, and we have, here they are, pwdfinance.aura and pwdfinance2.aura, and it's the same size, 2560, 2560, because we copied them. So that's how I can ensure that the sys user will have the same password on both databases. Okay, so the first thing we need to do here is we need to set some parameters. Okay, Dataguard's all about parameters on our primary database. So we'll just ensure again that we connect it to our correct database, finance. And you want to ensure that you're using the SP file, because it just makes things easier when you're setting parameters, especially for Dataguard. Okay, and that's what I am using the SP file here on this database. To understand more about SP files, see my YouTube video on Oracle Instance Management. Okay, so the first parameter that you need to set is the following. Type in alter, and remember we're on the primary database, system set db_unique_name equals finance, the name of the database you're connected to, finance, scope SP file. So alter system set db_unique_name equals finance. Okay, the next parameter you want to set, alter, and remember you're on the primary, system set log archive config equals dg_config equals open paren finance comma finance2 close paren comma scope SP file. Alter system set log_archive_config equals single quote DG, short for Dataguard, _config equals open paren finance comma finance2 close paren single quote scope SP file. And it doesn't matter what order finance2 is. This command basically just tells Oracle what databases are participating in this Dataguard configuration, which in this case is finance and finance 2. Okay, so that's done. The next parameter you want to set, alter. Now this parameter is already set, but we need to add something to it. So alter system set log archive dest1, okay, location equals C:/database or data finance archive logs, okay, valid. Here's where we add things here. See, when you just set this log underscore archive underscore dest underscore 1 parameter, it sets the destination, the directory on the server where archive logs will be archived when they're switched in Oracle. Okay, you also, in the Dataguard environment, have to set that in the primary, but you have to add the following to them, as the following clauses to that parameter as well. So valid underscore 4, and I talk about these in more detail in my other videos, Dataguard videos. Valid underscore 4 equals open paren all underscore log files, comma, all underscore roles, DB underscore unique name equals the name of this database instance, finance. Close, single quote, scope SP file. So valid underscore 4 equals open paren all underscore log files slash all underscore rows, close paren, DB underscore unique underscore name equals finance, the name of the primary. Okay, the parameters I'm giving you is just the minimum required to get Dataguard to work. Okay, we're just trying to get the environment working. Done. Okay, the next one you want to set is crucial to Dataguard. Alter system set log archive. Now you're going to use destination 2. Service finance 2. Okay, so instead of setting a database, instead of setting a directory path, like because the archive log destination is on the physical server here, the local server, you're saying you want the archive log destination 2 to be a service name, okay, which is a TNS name, which means that it's going to send them over the network, okay, and you do your valid for just like you did with the primary, and for this you're gonna type in online log files underscore primary role DB underscore unique underscore name equals finance 2 scope SP file. And again, I go over these parameters in more detail in other videos. This is just to get Dataguard up and running. Okay, done. So we know that we're telling Oracle that every time it cuts an archive log, cut one local for normal local recovery, but also send one to this Oracle database, finance 2. Okay. Next one is also a pretty important one in regards to Dataguard. Alter system set standby underscore file underscore management equals auto scope equals SP file. And basically what that does is every time you create a new file on a standby on a primary database, that will be created on the secondary. Okay, so that's very important. And there are two parameters that are only required because we are changing the path. The Oracle physical standby database, the physical structure must be the same, the physical directory where the data files and everything are. But in a but you can change if the physical structure on a different server is different than the structure on the primary. And when I mean physical, I mean the directory structure, C:/database or data finance. Or if you're doing it on the same server, which it can't be the same, okay, structure, you would type in the following to convert that. So this is required if the structure is different on the secondary server, if you're using a different server, or if you're using the same server for your standby, okay, as your primary is running on, which is what we're doing here. So the two parameters are as follows: alter system set db underscore file underscore name underscore convert, db underscore file underscore name underscore convert equals single quote finance 2 single quote comma single quote finance single quote scope SP file. And that's saying any files incoming from Dataguard that had finance 2 in their path name, change to finance. Okay? And we need to do the same thing for the log files. Alter system set log underscore file underscore name underscore convert equals single quote finance 2 single quote comma finance comma scope sp file. And this is saying any files coming in as finance 2 need to be changed to finance. And the reason why we're setting a lot of these parameters like this is because when you configure Dataguard, you always want to ensure that it's configured in such a way that the standby database could resume the role of that the standby database could be a true primary database to resume the role, which means that he can accept archive logs from the old primary and apply them. So it could go back and forth bi-directional. Okay, so you always want to make sure you configure it that way. And after I set these parameters, I always like to restart my database just to make sure everything took effect. Which the startup force command is the restart command in Oracle, which is basically 2 commands in one. It's a shutdown abort and a startup. Instance started, database mounted, and we should get a database open. Okay. All right.